Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us early. We're going to try and make your early call worth your time. My name is Anna Carugati. I'm the Group Editorial Director of WorldScreen. I'm delighted to be here with such a distinguished panel. I will let each one introduce themselves. If for no other reason, jet lag might impede my ability to get the titles correctly. So let's start with Deirdre.
It's early. Hello, I'm Deirdre Brennan. I'm Head of Children's Television for the Australian Broadcasting Corporation in Australia.
Hi, I'm Tara Sorensen with Amazon Studios. I head up kids programming.
Hi, I'm Karen Miller with Disney Channels Worldwide. I manage acquisitions, co-productions, and worldwide program strategy.
Hi, I'm Nicole Keeb, working for ZDF in Germany. It's a public channel, and yeah, about the same like Karen.
Is this on?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Adina Pitt, and I work for Turner Entertainment, and I am Vice President of Content Acquisitions and Co-Productions for Cartoon and Boomerang US.
So we have a diverse panel representing both traditional linear channels, public broadcasters, commercial, dedicated children's channels, and we have Amazon, which is the new frontier. However, I thought before we started, let's get a brief show of hands of the composition of the audience. I was just wondering, how many buyers do we have here? Okay, how many distributors or producers? Aha. And how many members of the press? Okay, good. All right, that will give us an idea of how to shape the conversation. I thought before getting into the specifics of what these different channels are looking for, I thought it would be interesting to get an idea of how are children watching programming these days, because I think beyond the screen device that they're using to watch, it would be interesting to understand from these distinguished panelists what their experience tells them and where our children are going, because if you have children, you know how easily they adapt to anything that has moving pictures on them or games. So let me just throw it out to whoever wants to start. What are you learning about how children are watching? Let's leave games aside for a moment. Let's start with just shows. What are you learning about how they're watching? Is the linear channel still the go-to screen, or are all the other portable devices where they're leaning towards?
Oh, I'll start. It's interesting, we've just had some data come out in the OzTAM, which is our rating system multi-screen report that came out while I was on the plane. And although we're working so hard to make sure we're ready on devices and we get our content wherever we need to, so obviously it's tablets for preschool and phones for older kids. I think that's pretty universal. The numbers are showing that 92% of all broadcast TV is still viewed live, which shocked me, and that 89% of all video viewing is still on a traditional television screen. So even though we're getting 8.8 million plays of preschool programs on iView, which is our equivalent of iPlayer, our VOD service, it's still only about 20% of the Australian population. So I think sometimes we get so excited about the future, about multi-platform delivery of content, that we forget that television still has a very important role to play. And when you look at that, 89% of video viewing still on traditional TV sets, it's something that we have to remember.
How are we supposed to follow up after those statistics?
She has numbers.
I wrote them down.
I'm going to read off of Nico's notes.
I would say for Disney Channels Worldwide, I mean, I think we believe we are everywhere all the time. Our kids are watching any way they can and everywhere. We have a watch platform that we've had for several years now, so it gives the ability to kids to, on the go, to watch our content. They watch the linear. We also launch, I think the number is about 70%, but we launch now about 70% of our content on watch first. To give those kids the ability, to have almost that special time where they are ahead of the game and ahead of the linear premiere. So our kids are everywhere.
I would just add that, I think we all make every effort to know our consumer, to know our viewer, and to know their viewing habits, and to be everywhere that they are. So whether it's how we launch content, or where it lives, what that shelf life is. The most important thing is to actually be present on all of those platforms. The thing about kids, that's always been the case, is that they love to watch their favorite properties over and over and over again. It's a strategy that programmers have used even long before nonlinear existed, where you would have the same episode airing every day in preschool because the child wanted to see that episode, right? This was before DVRs and all that. So now, it's not that it's different, it's that there's so many platforms available that you really have to be wherever they are, and you have to have brand extensions available to your viewers in every single one of those places. And that's a very fast-changing game for everyone.
How do you, and this is open to anybody, how do you keep track of how your viewers are watching? I mean, you must do a lot of research.
We go to every home.
Adina's very busy.
You personally,
to every
go to
Every home.
It's very hard.
We can learn so much from Adina.
Amazon's a very metric-driven organization, so we see numbers about how they're consuming our programming and other programming through Prime Instant Video. For us, I think we've seen tremendous growth on our service, but what we also don't necessarily make a distinction between which connected device they're watching it through, because between tablets or Rokus, I think they're pretty evenly balanced. I will say as a parent, though, my kids don't watch linear television anymore because they're accustomed to getting things when they want and where they want them. And as Adina mentioned, watching them over and over again, I think a subscription service, you have the ability to stop programs, rewind them, watch them over and over again. And for Amazon, it's something that we've embraced in our preschool programming so that we can make extensions outside of the program per se, so that we're extending the learning in preschool, and it becomes an add value for parents.
And
I have to say too, we are currently in the majority an SVOD free market at the moment, but it's all going to change from Q1 next year. So I would anticipate that those statistics, which I find surprising, will definitely change quite rapidly in the next 12 months.
So in Germany, for ZDF, it's still 90% television. That's our main goal. That's we are obliged by law as well, to deliver that on television. That's our main goal. And then we are living from. So every household has to pay 18 euros in Germany. So public channel is financed that way, and that means we are obliged to deliver television content. And everything we do in the internet or pay-per-view or things like that, that's a second step. So that's our main thing, and a little bit problematic right now in Germany is that we don't have really the ratings. So we know how many people are watching us, by in the internet and so on, but it's not really on the panel. We don't know are we market leader there or not. So it's not really in the range of is it a successful thing or not a successful thing. But we have to find a recipe how to cope with that, and we are working on it. But that's not a ZDF thing, that's a general thing in Germany.
Right. That was my next question, actually. Just briefly, do you feel you are getting the numbers you need to know where children are watching? I mean, is there audience measurement on platforms beyond linear channels that are good enough for you to work with?
Not enough.
Not enough, right?
It's evolving.
Yeah.
And a lot of what we rely on, yes, we have wonderful tools that are emerging for us to get actual quantitative data, but I think the qualitative data becomes even more important because it's the behavior of the viewer, right, that's as important as, that, because that'll inform, it helps us get those kids to the platforms if we understand the behavior, right? So it tells us how to strategize. So I think I'm seeing a lot more studies about the plurals, about this generation of kids, and really understanding them as best we can, and how to talk to it's not the millennials anymore, and just really kind of educating ourselves and all of the lines of business. So yes, it's evolving, but I would say the qualitative is as important as the quantitative.
Okay.
And in ZDF, of course, we do have a lot of quality market research. I mean, we have a whole department sitting there, and if there's a specific question, we can use them, which makes sense. And on the other hand, our ratings, if I'm talking about H2O just at Mermaid, then I'm talking maybe about 30% market share on television. But we know that there are like 3 million VOD users sitting there, but that's not really counting. You know, that's what we have in mind, but it's not really on the agenda.
Right. And do you know what children are doing on portable tablets? Are they watching shows, episodes, or are they playing games more? Or does it really matter? You just want them to connect with your brand?
Yeah, I think they're doing both. I mean, I think they're watching their favorite shows, they're playing games, they're hopefully. I mean, we provide them what we believe is this enhancement to that viewing of that series. So they are using it every single way they can.
Right. And how many of you have launched an app or are in the process of launching an app?
We all have, yes.
Yeah, we all have,
Yes.
I think.
Everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're currently undertaking, because when I started last December in the role, none of our online content for both of the kids' brands actually was device friendly. So we're quickly trying to catch up with everybody else and have a mobile ecosystem in place by sort of April next year. Phew.
So that's the same with us, but we will be there in December, hopefully.
We're slow.
And we just launched,
It's a call to
was
action.
it this week, right? We just launched the CN Anything app, which is this infinite loop of bite-sized content that ties back to the brand. And it's already getting a lot of good press and a lot of traction, but it's exciting because, you know, so much of this, it's not experimentation. I think any investment that a company of sitting up here is going to make is based on, we think there's a place in the marketplace for something like this. And, you know, at the end of the day, it's up to the consumer if it's going to be successful or not. But what's so interesting is how the nonlinear and the linear, how the word of mouth spreads. Like your consumer becomes your marketer because they tell their friends and they tell their friends, and before you know it, you've got every kid playing or watching what you're doing.
Anna, may I ask the panel a question? Yes. In the proliferation of apps, and for the audience too, how do we increasingly get kids to find them?
Very good question. Thank you, Deirdre.
Can you repeat the question?
No, there's so much in the kids' app space now. So, right, ABC, we can come out with channel branded apps, or at least our branded apps. How do kids find? Is it personal recommendation? Because there's so much there. You know, unless you get that someone saying, wow, you've got to check this out, it's really good. I don't know how they're going to find it.
I think they're so resourceful. I mean, these kids, I have 2 children, and it's amazing what they teach me every single day. And my daughter reminds me, as she is about to embark on college next year, you better learn that quick because I'm not going to be here to do this for you. Oh, yeah. So honestly, I think they find it everywhere. It's talking to friends. It's seeing what's cool. They are a lot smarter than us.
Karen, take those words to you, because when my son left for college, I lost my IT specialist.
Oh.
I have a printer at home that is still not working.
I'm frightened, yes.
Yeah.
It's true.
Okay, so to tag on to your question, to help them cut through the clutter, whether it's linear or non-linear, how important is a brand? And Tara, we'll get to you in a second, okay? How important is a brand, and how does, because when I asked you, we were in touch before this panel, what do you look for? And almost every single one of you said it has to fit our brand. What does that mean?
I will say for Disney, our brand is everything. I mean, I think, you know, and our brand is consistent around the globe. We have 99 platforms around the world. And so whether it's Disney Junior or Disney Channel or Disney XD, there's very specific deliverables that we have for our audience. So we have to make content, we have to buy content that sits side by side and that also delivers on that brand. We have a huge responsibility to our audience.
You know, it's very similar for us. We have very particular brand attributes, what we call the DNA of the brand, that everyone is aware of and we're reminded of and we talk about, and it has to exist in anything that we make or acquire. Has to touch upon, has to tick off those boxes. And it's very difficult because it is and it isn't, because those are the boundaries, right? So you're free to work within those boundaries, but sometimes you want to maybe deviate a little and experiment, and that's where it becomes a little bit tricky, because you have to stay true to the brand. The brand is everything. It's no different than when we say, pass me a Coke, or give me a Q-tip instead of a cotton swab. You know, you instantly refer to brands. Kids, they relate property back to Disney, Turner, ZDF, ABC, Amazon. There are brand connections. They know.
They know what
they're going to get.
They do.
Exactly.
For ZDF, that's a bit more complex. That's a different recipe, because we are a public channel, and we are showing, you know, documentaries, entertainment, factual entertainment, movies, series for smaller kids, for older kids, for families. So we have everything, and we are obliged to have everything. We like to have everything. So it's hard to say, okay, it's a ZDF brand. And nowadays it's even harder. For example, you know, with our mermaid things, you know, we sold them all over the world, our commercial arm sold it all over the world, and now, you know, are we still related to our own product? So, you know, that's a little bit the challenge for us. Would there be branded slots anywhere? You know, Netflix came up in Germany lately. How do we cope with that? Those are the questions. And regarding brand, I mean, we just have to deliver, and we want to deliver high quality, high profile programming, really in documentary and show, in fiction, and everything we are doing. So that would be the brand. And then we have, of course, old time shows, which we have on air like 30 years, you know, entertainment shows, those are brands, and in Germany everybody knows them. Right. So that's a different recipe of programming.
But you know, it's interesting because I have a 13-year-old son and an 11-year-old daughter, and for years, just by watching the packaging or just by osmosis, I don't know, because it's not like I say you have to watch this, you have to do that, but my daughter's a big Disney fan, and my son said, no, that's a girl's channel, I'm not watching that, and he instantly, he's like, no, I'm not, but then he'll dip into some of the shows because he feels it's okay, you know, but they know, they know, oh no, that's a boys' channel, I'm not going there.
Well, and I think there was a time, I think it's changing, but I think there was a time where we would look at content and we would screen something and we'd say, it's not for us, it's for cartoon, or it's for Nick. I think those lines are a little bit more blurred, but we used to be able to say that, you know, very clearly.
So if a show is pitched to you as girls skewing or boys skewing, do you automatically know that if it's a girls skewing show, some boys will come in and vice versa?
Yeah, I think we have to make sure that in that DNA of the show that there are you know, entry points for that audience, and I think we do that really well. You know, while I think a lot of people believe that Disney Channel is for girls, it is, but it is also, you know, equally for boys as well. I think obviously with the Disney XD brand that is really branded for boys, there is certainly from the audience's standpoint, a little bit more of a divider, but we have boys right alongside girls on Disney Channel, and it's due to the content offering.
Right. And Adina, you must have girls who tune in as well, right?
You know, yes, we only air animation on the Cartoon Network. We don't have any live action. And, you know, boys watch more animation, just as a general rule. That's how, you know, Adult Swim emerged out of Boys to Men. Men still like to watch cartoons, so now you've got Family Guy and all of these shows that have emerged, you know, over time, and now you've got a whole adult animation business that is thriving. Yes, I already forgot the question.
Do you get girls too?
We get girls, yes we do, and we invite them in, but it's, a lot of the content, shows like Gumball, shows like Adventure Time, they are a little broader, a little more gender neutral than perhaps, you know, not to mention any names, but if we have a boys action series like a Ben 10, that might skew more boy, right, just because of what it is, you know, and I don't think any of us would object to a female protagonist in a sort of a butt-kicking position,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
where there's that aspirational component, right, where boys would mind watching that, neither would the girls. You know, we had that in Powerpuff Girls.
Right.
So there's definitely room for both genders, but I do think you have to pick a side at some point, because you can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
You do have to, you know, say, we're going to, again, back to the brand. Once you've made some clear boundaries, you can work within that.
Okay. So Adina, I'm sorry, go ahead. You're looking primarily for animation. You are looking for a broad range of product.
Yes.
Even factual.
Yes.
Deirdre, that applies to you too, right?
Yeah,
It's
and
not
live
just
action and family programming, which I think is probably the greatest market gap and market failure I'm seeing, having come back into the industry again.
right. Nicole, I didn't mean to.
No, that's okay. I just wanted to explain, you know, on ZDF and on Kika, we do have more girls and younger children in general, and Kika is market leader. You know, Kika is the joint venture of ARD and ZDF, both public channels in Germany. So we are mother and father of our own children channel. And, well, it's more girls and younger kids, as I said, so we would like to find more boys anyhow, but that's not easy because we don't want to lose the girls.
You need like a merman.
Merman.
Yeah, we found them. We found him. We have it. No, but you know, creating a show or co-producing a show, producing a show, I mean, you have something in mind, but then there are so many surprises, whoever is watching. You know. We were not expecting that the mermaids would have been watched by 50-year-old men and women.
That's so creepy.
That might be a little bit creepy.
Or an advertising
no.
opportunity for you. Do you advertise for them? Swag, Halloween costumes.
I hand it over. You know, I will tell Ani about it.
I want royalty fees for that idea.
Okay, so if anybody wants to come up with a show of mermen, we already have.
No, what I wanted to say, it's not easy to plan. Of course, some things are obvious, but on other things, you know, you're so completely surprised as well in terms of target, of age groups and so on. You put a show on air and you think it's for 6 to 9 year old, and then the 4-year-olds are watching.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So.
Right. Tara, now yours is a different environment. What are you looking for?
I'm looking for programming across multiple demos. You know, I think Amazon is a family brand, and so we're trying to utilize principles from a retail parent to figure out who we are in the programming space. Right now, I'm looking for preschool programming 3 to 5, transitional programming from 4 to 7, and then 6 to 12. And I do hope to break up more of that 6 to 12 because it is a pretty large demographic. You know, 6-year-old and a 12-year-old are different. We'll explore different mediums. We're sort of medium agnostic. It really is about great characters and great stories. You know, and parents definitely play a role in how we greenlight programs. Amazon is a little bit different in that we do pilot everything. So we fully produce our first episode, we put it up online, and we watch how people watch them. We also do traditional focus groups, we do closed loop testing, but parents' voice are, you know, present in the room, and so anything scatological in nature or violent wouldn't necessarily work for our service at this point. You know, we need to continue to earn trust with our parents, and I think parents are really, you know, the prime subscriber, if you will. They are passing the programming on to their kids. It's why we started off with preschool programming, making sure that it was more easily discoverable than, you know, than not.
Deirdre, you are also looking for a variety of content. Is there anything in particular now, maybe in live action, or that is different from what you've had up to now? Are you looking for different storytelling forms?
Yeah, it's interesting, actually. The best live action I've seen all week while I've been around is actually from Amazon. And it's just got a public broadcaster heart about it and very charming. So it's quite wonderful to see the work that's coming out of your team, Tara. But yes, it's an interesting challenge because I really wanted to come back into ABC and try and treat children's as a genre not being a silo, so not a siloed genre, which it had really become because it has 2 channels on the portfolio and is really very substantial in the Australian landscape. But I think ABC had forgotten that they're connected to parents. and had become so sort of focused on children being a separate audience. So what we're trying to do at the moment is bring that audience back to our main channel service and to the content that we produce for families, because otherwise we're not linking the two of them together in entertainment that they may want to enjoy together. So we're looking at different formats that could potentially be co-commissions across the channels. And one of the ones we're working on at the moment is a 6x1 hour mini-series based on a very famous series of books in Australia called Tomorrow When the War Began. And that would actually play out probably on the main channel, then come into our older kids channel. But something like Nowhere Boys, if you hadn't had a chance to screen it, please do have a look at it. That was a slight plug. But we're roadblocking that, and a wonderful experience working in the pay TV sector, because these techniques are great techniques for building program brands. So we will be roadblocking the Series 2 premiere of that across the main channel, our ABC3 Kids channel, and also iView, our VOD platform. So, you know, that type of activity is so important to us because we need to speak to the parents in Australian families or we will lose them both. Does that make sense?
Can I just add to that point? Because we're experiencing the same thing. This whole idea of creating an event where you can invite everyone in, even though you're still targeting that core demo, but you won't object to having the co-viewing. I'm hearing a lot of co-viewing across most of the platforms. It's an important thing. It's almost like when Nick at Night did a campaign about the family dinner, right. And how it was time for everybody to come and sit down at the dinner table again, and they did a whole campaign around that. And I think it's no different for us. We're still targeting, well, maybe I shouldn't speak for everybody, but I mean, in our case, we're still targeting kids, but we know that at certain times you're going to have a co-viewing experience. And sometimes those numbers can be shocking because you didn't expect to get that kind of audience composition, you know, grown women watching with their kids or dads watching with their kids.
Well, you must be seeing this in your own homes. It's gotten to the point where everybody is watching something different in a different room. So,
but then you have something like
good,
a Dancing with the Stars, and suddenly the whole family's
Yeah.
sitting together and voting and participating.
But that's interesting. So within the children and family, you are also trying to find those shows that can bring everybody together.
I think everyone wants to be approved. You want your audience to love you, but you also want the parents to say, it's okay to watch this. I'm happy that you're at this brand, and I'm glad that you're watching this show. I think a lot of us started, we were working in media because there was something when we were growing up that we connected with. There was that, I'm sure you can each cite your favorite show or your favorite actor or your favorite book, right? Or everybody's got that connection, which we've then carried over into. I think we're trying to create those memories for our viewers, and sometimes you get it very wrong, and sometimes when you get it right, it's just the most extraordinary thing.
It worries me a little bit that reality franchises have become the big family events. So I'm on a personal mission to try and get storytelling back into their entertainment mix, because you know, so much of Australian television is driven by those big every night events that go for 2.5 hours. I want them to have the same thing, but in a scripted. Right. I'll keep trying.
Yeah.
We've approached our live action programming from more of a single camera perspective. It was, for me, about co-viewing because Amazon is a family brand. And so we don't necessarily shy away from real emotion relationships that are more grounded and authentic. I think, you know, kids are, you know, there's certainly aspirational and wish fulfillment shows, but there's not necessarily stuff that they're dealing with and processing in their real lives. And so we wanted to bring that to the table. And Gordimer, I think, is a great relationship story. There's certainly elements of magical realism, which I think kids will appreciate and find humor in. But at the core, you know, everyone asks me what the show is about, and I always say to them, it's about 3 friends, you know, so.
Tara, I know that you solicit ideas from the general public when you're...
We do, and Gordimer was one of those.
So how does that, briefly, how does that work? And then if you do get an idea from somebody who doesn't have a long track record producing, how do you team them up with...
So we take online submissions, which you're referring to, but also offline submissions. So we've worked with, you know, very established creators, and then on the flip side, people that don't have the experience. David Anaxagoras was a preschool teacher who received his MFA in screenwriting from UCLA, but had never sold anything. Found out about Amazon Studios, uploaded a script for kids, which wasn't necessarily kids. I think it was a little dark. We went through several drafts with him, and when we were prepared to greenlight it, we actually brought on a writer-director who had won an Oscar for his short film, God of Love, to give it more a point of view. And, you know, then once the series was greenlit, created a writer's room around David. You know, I think David still is learning the process. I think he gained a lot of insight from this, but I don't think he could have done it on his own. So we surrounded him with talent that could help execute. You know, we also have found artists online. We found concepts online that weren't necessarily fully fleshed out, but ideally we're keeping those creators in the loop because it was born, you know, with them. So,
you know, that's something that's also been changing for us. We're finding that the creators, even at our studio, they're 21 years old. Some of them haven't even finished school. You know, what the nonlinear experience has created, what the internet has created, is people are becoming creators even as kids. Kids creating content, user-generated content, and then they grow up in school, and they go to school, and they are trying to use these as their calling card. And we're in the same situation where you have these really great ideas from these young creators, but they've never made a show before. And that's a very different proposition than making a short that you post online. And we have to assemble teams with veterans who can, you know, you really have to look, and you become almost like a packaging agent for your creators to make sure that you can assemble the strongest team possible and get a show off the ground. And, but it's really funny, we talk about that all the time. 21-year-olds, 23-year-olds, 26, it's just like, wow.
Well, and I think that, you know, good ideas come from everywhere, and I think every single one of us take pitches all the time. I mean, there's probably not a meeting that we don't take, or not. We read scripts, we take pitches, we look underneath every single rock, because I think you never know where good content's going to come from, and it ultimately is about the storytelling. So, I mean, it is our responsibility. So, you know, bang on our doors if you don't get the answers. You know, in some cases, you know, for us, we have to have it go through an agent or a lawyer. Or, you know, in a session like this, you can certainly reach out, give us your card, and we'll give you ours. That's our responsibility. I think, you know, whether the internet has certainly done that and increased the access for content, but I think, you know, the thing that has stayed always the same is our responsibilities and our team's responsibilities to look for content.
And Deirdre and Nicole, as public broadcasters, besides the same criteria that all of you have, which is finding a show that kids are going to want to watch, is there also an obligation to develop talent as public broadcasters in your territories? Is that also something that you're looking to do?
This was a really interesting question, because there's always an assumption that public broadcasters are trying to find young creative talent and on-air talent because we have a responsibility to the production sector. I have to say, and you know, looking at this panel, they do so much in that space that it's universal, particularly with kids and young adult content, because we are looking for that authentic voice. We're looking for new ideas, and probably this genre has more opportunity across all of the commercial sector as well as public broadcasting. So it's, I would say, Nicole probably agree with me, yes, it is our responsibility, but look what's happening on this panel. It's everybody.
Yeah. Right, it's everybody's.
Same for us. And we are developing talents as well in other genres. I mean, in the documentary side, entertainment side. And so, you know, there's a lot of space to do that.
Yeah, and for us, Disney Channels has just, about 6 months ago, launched a program called Storytellers. And it is an opportunity for us to develop that next generation of writers. And it has, you know, it is an incubation, if you will, of talent.
What I would love to see is to see programs like that roll out around the world, because, you know, what we're finding is that there's a bit of exodus, if you will. You become a popular writer in your region, and then suddenly you move to Los Angeles and you become too expensive for everyone else to work with. Like, it would be so great for you as producers and as distributors to really cultivate your young talent and teach them the tools of the trade so that they can be as successful as possible. You know, I'm sure we all see a lot of the same content. And how many times do you see the same name writing the script?
A lot.
Right? And they say, oh, I'm really excited. I have so-and-so writing the script. That's great. And you have the pile of scripts that he wrote over here. And you know, you can't have that same voice, right? You can't have that same go-to person writing your ideas. You know, I really think cultivating that next generation of writers is fantastic.
Adina, I know.
Now I want them.
Can we plagiarize that? That's really good.
You are, if rebooting is the wrong word, correct me, but tell us about Boomerang.
Rebranding.
Rebranding, Boomerang. What does that entail?
There's
and
a lot of B's.
What should the audience know that you're looking for?
We're very excited about this. This is a long time coming. We are doing a global rebrand of Boomerang, and really, that is our second flagship channel. And it's going to involve, basically the look is going to be completely uniform around the world, as will the lineup, with certain exceptions because there will be some local content in some of the regions. But really our aim is to build that brand, specifically, you know, and if you'll just indulge me to speak for the US, because, you know, it's been a long time since it's had a reface and a new look. So it's super exciting. And we're going to be targeting 4 to 7-year-olds. It's not a preschool channel. It's not an educational channel. It is the home of Tom and Jerry, Scooby, a lot of the Cartoon Network originals from a long time ago. And you're going to see a lot more iconic brands coming there. So we're very exciting. I'm sure I'm leaving details out. Oh, it's gender neutral, 50-50. So it is different to cartoon, and there has to be a difference. But where they're tied together is that you will understand that they're brother and sister, or, you know, siblings, if you will, but not the same. So no, your show won't launch on one and then migrate to the other. There will be two very distinctive brands.
Okay. I've heard something from various distributors that I've talked to, and this ties into what you said before about young creators. I've been hearing that because so many of the millennials who grew up with watching the same shows, whatever channel they were on. Some people are telling me that there are more uniform understandings of what storytelling should be nowadays because these kids all grew up with the same shows. Is there anything to that? Are you seeing that? Is there a better understanding of the kind of show that will fit a commercial channel or a channel that is trying to, you know, attract children? Or when you have a new storyteller, do you still have to sort of shepherd them through, this is what we're looking for, and this is how you should tell your story? I was just curious about that.
It's so funny because even though they have a great deal of understanding about media and the platforms, and even, you know, they probably rattle off program brands as program brands, I still think in that younger generation, there's a desperate want to express an authentic voice.
Absolutely.
And that's what we're seeing that's really exciting. And you know, these incredible opportunities for that voice to come out. They want to tell their stories. They want to create things that are theirs. Mm-hmm. So I don't actually feel that they're trying to replicate what's gone before. They're actually very strong-minded in the fact that they want to create something new.
Yeah, and I think their voices are really loud, which I think is great for all of us. I mean, I think we want, you know, we want diversity in every single way on our platforms. And for us, because we have 3 different platforms, we have oftentimes 3 different voices. So, you know, somebody comes in to pitch us, you know, particularly in Disney Junior. I mean, I always say to Nancy Cantor, I feel like I want my children to go back in time because the rebrand of Playhouse to Disney Junior has been so incredibly successful, and the kind of stories that Joe and Nancy and that team tell every single day, it is at the very heart and core of what Disney is about. And, you know, I think, you know, when Playhouse was Playhouse, there were a lot of different voices, and now they are consistent, and there is really that magical storytelling, which is, it was and is a bit of a lost art. So I think our platforms all have a different voice, but I think this generation of young people and talent have a very, very loud voice, and that's what we all are looking for, is that unique voice. We don't want everything to be the same.
In the last few seconds, because we have to wrap up, to anyone or all of you, what do you feel is missing from the market?
Money.
Money.
We don't have the luxury of time.
Yeah.
Right? We have to act quickly. But there's no shortage of ideas. I think, and I'm sorry to take that one first, but definitely, I want people to take more time before they come to us with their ideas, because sometimes an idea, you say, well, walk me through 26 episodes of your idea, or give me 10 examples of your idea, and you can't do it because you haven't flushed it out. So I would just say, we don't have the luxury of time to make a decision, but please take the time before you pitch.
I would like people to think outside of the box and think more innovatively about programming. I'm constantly seeing concepts that I've seen pitched before, and again, I hate to go back to Gortimer, but that script stood out to me because it was a personal story. It felt different from anything that I had seen before, and so one of the things that I explain to people, I'm looking for a signature Amazon series, and so think, innovatively about storytelling or visual design so it stands out. Right now we're having to break through clutter, and it's difficult to do that with something that feels of Disney Channel or feels of Cartoon Network. Those brands have been established for so long. We don't want to regurgitate what's worked for them. We're trying to do something different.
Yeah, I think that's that original voice. I don't think any of us really want a derivative of something else. I think that's the notion, but it is not, in fact, true. It is that, to Tara's point, it really is that unique visual style, but it also is that really strong creative voice.
And for ZDF, definitely there are high-profile live-action series missing for a little bit older kids, 6 to 12, or as well teens. And as well in animation, the good old shows like As Told by Ginger or things like that, or Wild Thornberries, or I'm picking out Wild now, but really warm-hearting, really big stories, and something really matters, because there's a lot of comedy on the market, and I know there's a need for certain channels, but not so much for us. And we need something which really, big heart, big soul, big story, big budget, if it's needed. And then, we are there, and I'm sure other public channels or our friends here. I have to say what I saw now from Disney, I liked it all, unfortunately. I can't have it in Germany. It's really good. Oh, we took Gumballs from Cartoon Network.
Thank you.
That's really such a great show, so creative. Dance Academy with ABC and so on. With Amazon, we are talking now. So, I think it's really the whole high-profile stuff which is missing.
And for us, it's distinct content, great stories, and personally, I'd like to see more real faces on screen.
All right. Well, I wish we had time to go on, but our session has come to an end. Thank everybody, and please help me thank the panelists.